The Arizona Coyotes having a new assistant coach to be behind the bench alongside Andre Tourney. We're going to talk about him, learn more about him, what he does, and the kind of qualities he's going to be bringing to Arizona. And we're talking about other Arizona Coyotes news, all on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlak right beside me on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes, the number one daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. We want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, which does mean we'll never have a paywall for you guys to ever access our content. We got a great show for you guys today. If you're watching on YouTube, you see we have a guest, JD Young from Locked On Sharks, joining us to help us learn about a new assistant coach. JD, welcome to the show. We're obviously going to get more into it in a little bit, but welcome to the show. It's been a while since we've talked on the show.
It has, especially now that we're not division rivals anymore. It's, we used to, the Desert Dogs drinking game is now RIP. We no longer, there's no longer a doormat in the Pacific known as the Coyotes. It is now the Sharks. We have taken over that, and thank you for your services there.
Glad we could be of service.
Yeah, I mean, someone's got to do it.
Someone's going to do it. I was hoping the Kraken would, but when you have Beniers and Wright down the middle, that's going to be awesome. The Ducks are going to be better. The King, it's doormat season for the Sharks.
I mean, do what we do. Embrace it.
I believe me, I've been trying to embrace it for a while. I've been embracing the tank for a while, but the powers to be, not so much.
Absolutely. Did you have something else to add, Carl?
No, we should probably not spend too much time discussing the Pacific Division.
Fair enough. But for those that don't know, the reason why we have JD is because he's the host of Locked On Sharks, and the Arizona Coyotes have hired a new assistant coach, John Madden, as an assistant coach to be alongside Andre Tourney. He was most recently an assistant coach with the Sharks, and that's why we're having JD to kind of help us learn more about this kind of guy.
Yeah, so John Madden, he was the assistant coach for the Sharks in the past 2 years. He worked with their forwards and he ran their penalty kill. And as bad as the Sharks have been recently, their penalty kill has actually been really, really good. And he's a big reason for that. And the thing that you're going to see, especially with him, is how active he wants the forwards to be. Where they're always pursuing the puck, and that led to a very successful penalty kill for the Sharks. They were second in the league last year in the penalty kill. They were kind of middle of the pack in the bubble year, but when you have to play, the Avalanche in Vegas 8 times, your penalty kill is going to look bad. But but last year, the Sharks, they struggled to score goals, but their forwards were much more proactive with their defense. And like I said, you saw that on the penalty kill, and you saw that with the Sharks with, they couldn't score goals, but did a much better job than they had in previous years in having a more active forwards in the defensive zone and trying to, at least try to get the puck out of the zone.
I mean, definitely sounds like a good thing for the Coyotes. The Coyotes had the 28th penalty kill last season, tied with the Winnipeg Jets, killing 75%. The Jets, the Canucks, the Kraken, and the Red Wings were below them, which was just goes to show what company they were keeping. So definitely need to improve the penalty kill.
Yeah, and the Sharks last year, before kind of everything fell apart, they wanted to be that kind of defensive grinded out team, and it worked for the first kind of quarter of the season before the COVID kind of shut down, and then everything kind of fell apart with the Sharks. But they wanted to win every game kind of 3-2 or 2-1 type of thing, and having the the forwards be a very proactive part of the defense was kind of their calling card. And when Bob Bugner missed a bunch of games last year due to COVID, I think that was like in November, and we lovingly gave the team the Sharkuda because they were half of the Barracuda team was up playing with the Sharks, and Madden was the coach then, and I thought he did a pretty solid job there, especially given the talent that they had, and they were very competitive against a lot better teams and won games that they probably shouldn't have, just because I thought of the way he kind of held the team together, this bandaged, duct tape team of Barracuda guys who, I think 7, were making their first like NHL games, appearances during that time. So, I thought he did a good job stepping in when needed. And like I said, I thought he did a really good job with the forwards, making them way more active in the defensive zone, which is something the Sharks just haven't been very good at recently.
What can you say about the kind of like penalty kill style, if at all you can talk about that John Madden employed?
Again, it was very aggressive with the forwards, right? Where you're going to see them pursuing the puck, and of course that's going to leave you susceptible to kind of like the cross ice passes. But the hope is to try to, like, if you're pursuing the puck, it makes whoever the puck carrier, they have to kind of be quicker and think on their feet a little bit quicker, and they can't kind of get settled in. And then of course it's going to lead to shorthanded attempts. And the Sharks did have a fair amount of shorthanded attempts during that time. With him as the penalty killer. So again, trying to create chaos for the power play team is kind of the staple for it. And you saw it work a lot better at the beginning of the season, but then as guys kind of fell off and they started bringing in some of their AHL guys, and that's where it kind of fell apart a little bit. But I mean, they were still the second best penalty kill in the NHL last season. So.
Anything else from you, Carl?
I'm just kind of trying to think, because last season Clayton Keller made his debut as a penalty killer, and it was definitely a bit of a surprise. Clayton Keller's not the type of player you would think would be killing penalties, but he was doing it surprisingly well. Do you think that Madden would keep a player like him, or is he more like kind of a traditionalist with it, especially since it sounds like it could be like maybe a heavier penalty kill? Or can you just kind of shed some light on that?
Yeah, I mean, the Sharks had a lot of, like Logan Couture played a lot of, penalty kills, and of course he's known for his kind of two-way game. Tomas Hertl was on the penalty kill a lot. You definitely had your kind of penalty kill specialists like Nick Bonino and Matt Nieto. But we definitely, at the end of the season, we started to see some of the younger guys getting those penalty kill minutes. A Rudolph Spalsters, who unfortunately, is not with the Sharks anymore. You saw some of these kind of younger guys who they wanted to try to round out their game, and they were getting those penalty kill opportunities. And again, trying to play that aggressive penalty kill where, having guys who are really speedy, who can kind of, hopefully spring one out there. And so, I think Clayton Keller would be a perfect penalty killer in the Madden's, defensive kill, because again, with that speed that he possesses, where, he can be on top of the puck carrier right away. And then, hopefully he gets that poke check or gets, makes them force an error. And then all of a sudden he's off the other way trying to get a shot off. So.
Nice.
Awesome. Is there anything that you feel like we should know that we're not asking about John Madden as a coach, an assistant coach, that you feel like Coyotes fans and just Coyotes, people in general should know about him?
No, I think, he's definitely kind of an old school coach. So, he's with the younger players, and the Coyotes are going to have, of course, going to have a ton of younger players, but, he wants those guys to earn it. He's not going to give it to them, type of situation, but, he's going to give them opportunities to try to earn it. And I think, like I said, for a team that's kind of struggled with their penalty kill, I think he's going to be a great hire for them. And, especially with these younger forwards that the Coyotes have, where helping to distill that kind of defensive structure in their game, because it's, offense that's kind of comes naturally, but defense is more of a effort and an attention to detail. And I think he's the perfect guy for young players like that, where he can kind of instill that work ethic and that defensive value to make them, the cliche, the whole 200-foot game players. So.
Awesome. Well, JD, really appreciate you, telling us all about John Madden as a coach, and helping us understand it. Once again, as he becomes the next assistant coach, right, to be alongside Andre Tourné in the Coyotes rebuild years. We're gonna now just turn to you, just kind of like let everyone know where to find you and your
I do
and
like the era, the rebuild years are gonna yes, shirts will be sold and everything.
yep.
So you can find me, of course, on Twitter at myfryhole. You can find the show at Locked On Sharks. Had a lot of good interviews recently, including one William Eklund a couple weeks ago. So you can go check that out. I've got some more of the Barracuda guys coming up here as well. So make sure you guys are checking me out over at Locked On Sharks.
JD Young.
Yeah,
once
definitely a
again,
great follow. Make sure to check him out.
Oh, a terrible follow. Do not.
Anyways, thanks again for coming on. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
We still got more to get to on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're just going to discuss a little bit more about this hire in just a moment. But first, I'm going to tell you guys about our partners at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource of all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, sport scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline today. Use a mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks again, everyone, for making this show your first listen every day. Once again, it's Locked On Coyotes. I'm Robyn Leonio alongside Carl Pavlock. Thanks again to JD Young for helping us break down the hire and kind of getting us, telling us about John Madden. I think, really helping us understand the kind of coach that he's going to be for Arizona.
Yeah, definitely. I will say this. There's not really a good central database for assistant coaches. So when something like this happens, when we get a new hire, it can be kind of tough for us to know like what they're going to be like. So having a person who has followed him, who has seen kind of what he is like as a coach, definitely gives you a real insight into like kind of what you think. I was very excited to hear that Clayton Keller should be a good fit for his penalty kill system, because I do think he's going to continue that role next year, hopefully.
Absolutely, and especially what's nice to hear that he was the kind of coach that led the #2 penalty kill in the NHL. This night and day difference from the Arizona Coyotes, and obviously there's gonna be a personnel difference. So there's, you're not gonna expect the Coyotes to be a top 5 penalty kill, but still, like, it's gonna help, right? Having a coach in there who can do a lot better than what we had.
Yeah, it could only be an improvement, I think. And it seems like a good addition. What I really liked is JD kind of mentioned that he was more of an old school coach, whereas Bear definitely more of the new school. Like, he comes from handling younger players. That was kind of the reason he was hired, and I do like that. Diversity of voice in the room in that sense, where you get like the older guy, the younger guy. Definitely not complete diversity, but you know what I'm saying. Although looking at it, John Madden only 49.
Yeah,
like he may be one of the last of the old school guys.
Probably. Probably. Just like, oh yeah. But it's nice to see the differences coming in there. Nice to see that the Coyotes are, filling out their their bench, because that's that was one of the big question marks that we had going into the offseason, right? Because they decided not to renew the contracts of their other assistant coaches, of Phil Housley, and I'm blanking on the other names, but
yeah. I can't remember either, but I mean, I think like this is a very nice kind of addition for the Coyotes, and it seems like a player or a coach who's going to really fit it well. Just kind of for anyone who's unaware, John Madden won the Selke Trophy for Best Defensive Forward in 2001 and finished second in 2003, 04, and 08. And I do think the Coyotes need to get better defensively, and bringing in a guy who has that defensive mindset is really gonna, I think help this team. I hope he doesn't like completely grind everything to a halt. I'd still like to see, Clinton Keller have his creativity, but other than that, like kind of looking at the players they have, seems like a really good fit.
I mean, what's cool is the fact that like he was still a forward, so obviously he's still forward minded, but with that defensive mind, like in the fact that he was running the running the penalty kill is what's like that tells you something right there. The kind of coach and the kind of coach he is now and the kind of player that he was.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think the Coyotes are pretty much all maxed out at their assistant coaches now, right? Or do you think there's going to be one more addition?
I think they will have one more addition because I think wait, oh that's right because I mean no, they still have a couple coaching moves they have to make because because I'm just looking at the rest here.
Well, first off, the Tucson Roadrunners don't have a coach, so they're definitely going to need to add a coach in the organization.
A blaring vacancy there. Plus, I mean, how many assistant coaches left? I think I know Housley left, but who else? I'm looking at the list because the staff still lists Stillman and Schwab and Duhamel. If that's the case, then I would say then Madden rounds it out.
Yeah. Other than their AHL coach. Yeah.
Yeah, other than that.
Which, I mean, it's a fine group. It's definitely, we are getting to see who Torini is as a coach and by his assistant coaches. I think that was definitely an area where, under Tocchet, people judged a lot of his play on what his assistant coaches brought. And, he's not fully responsible for that, but he's the head coach, so he is responsible for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a lot like that's definitely going to be interesting to see how all that plays out, how it's all going to work. And yeah, so first, of course, how Madden fits in and how that rounds out for the Coyotes, but also, like you mentioned, the fact that the Coyotes still need a head coach to sit behind the bench for the Roadrunners, and at the same time, likely two assistant coaches because like I mentioned before earlier last week, the fact that now there's a big question mark of if the Roadrunners hire someone other than the current one of the two assistant coaches, I don't see either of them staying. So
yeah, the Coyotes still have a lot of things they need to do. Like it's a busy offseason remaining. What they need another goaltender. They're probably going to need to make a trade, acquire some veteran. Got to re-sign Lawson Krause. Got to re-sign Barrett Hayton. There is a lot to do on Bill Armstrong. It feels like things are starting to quiet down, but they're not yet.
Yeah, especially because we now have there's a official arbitration date set for Lawson Krause, which I think was sometime in the second week of August.
Let me pull that up real quick.
Like, I'm pretty sure that's what
August 8th.
August 8th. So yeah, second week of August.
Same day as Ethan Bear and Zach McEwen.
So now there's a dead set clock to negotiate with Lawson Krause
Yes.
before it
So
gets to the arbitrator.
still plenty of time. Well over 2 weeks. So I think that there's not. I don't have any concerns about the Coyotes getting it done. One of the things that I was thinking about, because I was asked to speak on Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel spent a lot of time with Lawson Krause last year.
Right.
You gotta believe he was responsible for a lot of those 20 goals that he hit. Do you suspect that the team could say, like, hey, we're looking at potential drop in play because you're not going to have Phil Kessel as a line mate?
Yeah, I think that's probably what they might go down, like the route they might go down should it get to that point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, if Lawson Krause really is that good, he can pair well against another good forward.
Yeah. Is he going to have another good forward to play with, though? Because that was always the thing about Krause. He tended to be on like the weird third line, and I don't know who his line mates are going to be.
Yeah, that's something else. Like,
yeah. I imagine the Coyotes are going to be able to get this deal done with Lawson Krause. I don't have any concerns about that. But it's one of those things where just like looking at this lineup, I think he may take a dip in production just because he is not going to have a guy like Kessel. Unless he gets like, I don't know, maybe him and Nick Ritchie have really good chemistry. He would kind of be, or maybe Nate Smith. Smith and Krause, that may be fun.
What I'm still curious about is what is Krause looking for? If he's actually looking for the dollar value or if he's looking for the term, because that's also something we don't know, right? Like, maybe he just wants longer term. Like,
would you be willing to commit to longer term if you're Bill Armstrong?
On a team friendly deal, yeah. I mean, if he's like on a team friendly dollar value, absolutely, because like that would allow the Coyotes, should they feel like it's necessary, to ship him out at any time without having to worry about overvaluation. You're like, I don't want to take on that contract kind of deal.
Yeah, but I do imagine if it got to the point where they're shipping him out, he has seen a drop in production too.
Yeah, true. Which is interesting to kind of think about all the possibilities, right? Like, and I'm thinking, when you make a negotiation on longer term, I don't know what he'd ask for, right? But let's say the Coyotes are offering 2 and he wants like 5. Obviously that's out of it, like, just like whatever, but
Sure.
3 or 4 isn't out of the realm of possibility. It's like, yeah, I mean, 4 is still on the higher end to give him, especially when there's a lot of question marks still around the Coyotes and the team. 3 is a pretty safe number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do think that, from everything we've heard, Bill Armstrong loves Lawson Krause. He is the type of player that he wants.
Absolutely.
And I mean, looking at who he drafted, Connor Geeky, Maverick Lemieux, could those be like future Lawson Krauses? Maybe. Like,
potentially,
it's the build that they have. So I do think that, he's kind of a player that the team would want to stick around. I know when I think about who the team might declare captain, after next season, it's Keller or Kraus. So that's
Yeah,
definitely one of the reasons why.
it's definitely one of those two.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I think that the team should probably go for term, and lock him in long term. Even if he does have like a drop without Kessel, I don't know how substantial it's going to be. Although that snake bitten year, the year prior, that was just rough.
How long are you think? Are you going like 6 years?
I dramatically take a sip of water. 6 years is a bit long, but I would go 5.
5? I think we rarely hear like a 5-year contract. I don't know why. It's like
5
it's
years.
either like 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8.
Because Kraus is 25. 5 years has him locked up for his prime years. And if he does start to regress, he will probably do that when he gets to 30. So I think it's a good one. I would not be upset with 6 though.
That's fair. And again, like I think especially if you do a team friendly dollar value, that can kind of help move some things around in the future. Maybe not moving him around, but like take care of other players.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what, you want to keep it to a team-friendly deal. Like the Coyotes have players like Bedard, or not. Well,
They don't have him yet.
Yeah, but Cooley and Gunther, these guys could be superstars.
Absolutely.
And you definitely want to make sure you have money to pay them like that, because 5 years from now, if there's a Lawson Krause contract that's like a weight around this team, that's going to be bad.
Plus, as a slight half joke, Austin Matthews would not be opposed to coming home to Arizona at the end of his contract with the Maple Leafs.
Yeah. So, and you're going to want money for that. Although, listen to us talking about the Coyotes having cap problems. Oh, we weren't that far removed from them. That was a interesting time, but yeah,
now
no,
they have more money, but they know what they could do.
I do think that they are going to hopefully get some good deal in place, because we're talking about having a new coach for the forwards. Krause is going to be a big part of the forwards group.
Right, absolutely. Any final thoughts you'd like to share before we close things off?
Not especially. I just recently on 5 for Howling put up a post on Jay Beagle where I once again get to talk about the fight in the Anaheim Ducks game. So go read that. It was fun to just immediately start an article with 300 words about a fight.
Did you talk about the fight? Did you talk about the commentary?
I talked about both. I talked mostly about the fight, and then I mentioned the commentary as I think the driving, just kind of the reason it is looked at the way it is, in a way where I don't necessarily think that people have a accurate view of this situation.
Fair enough. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, on Instagram at LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leonio. Carl Pavlak is Carl Pavlak FFH. Interact with us, ask a question you might have, we might answer right back, or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning into today's episode. And also thanks to JD Young for joining us in today's episode earlier to help us talk to us about Coyotes' new assistant coach, John Madden. And as a teaser for you guys, don't forget to tune into tomorrow's episode. We have another episode of the Grow the Game series. Justin Emerson, formerly of House of Sparky and the Arizona State hockey team, is going to be joining us as we talk the Sun Devil hockey. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's episode. You do not want to miss it. Anyways, once again, thanks everyone for tuning in to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.